The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL, but you're encouraged to like and share them on Facebook. Because it's time now for the African American Scene, brought to you by Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie and hosted by Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. My, do we have a lot of stuff going on.
There's always something to talk about for the show, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. Gee whiz, it's cut my research down to like almost nothing, but I hope you enjoyed the show last week with the young men who are on their way to college. I thought that was an awesome show. Especially, I learned something that the young man that got the basketball scholarship going to Arkansas had overcome cancer.
Yeah. You know, more and more people are overcoming cancer every day.
Yeah.
They're going to awesome centers where the latest technology is, like the Moffitt Center over in Tampa. And people are coming home and living happily ever after.
Yeah, I was so impressed, and he was so high spirited and so looking forward to going to college. Now it's like, So if you were with me last week, now if you've listened to the show a long time, you'll remember about 5 or 6 years ago I did a show where I had some kids and we followed them for just about 4 years. I think I lost track of them the last year, but for the first 3 years, we pretty consistently had them when they came home on spring break, winter break, and we found out how things was going at school. So they had to agree to do that when I had them on last week. So look forward in the coming weeks ahead, like Thanksgiving or whatever, and we'll have them on again as they come home. But
they're going to be coming back as maybe, master's degrees and things,
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. And it's interesting to see. Some of them will change majors. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah.
One of them will at least change a major. But it'd be interesting to see what that experience is like. Only one of them said they were nervous. The others didn't seem to be too nervous about the whole thing. But it should be fun. Oh, yeah. We had a lot of fun when we did it the last time. So, and Carol, that's one of Carol's favorite things. She loves when I get the kids in here and they're talking about school and what's going on there. So
remember the time you had them all in here and talking about music?
Yeah,
that was. We'll have to find that one and bring it on.
That would be good. Yeah. Well, let me tell you, we're gonna have an open mic night tonight, and I will tell you, I will not be here next Wednesday. Me and Mrs. Howard are gonna do a sneaky poo away.
Wait a minute, I heard something about that.
We're going to be, so we're going to...
it's the best way to do it. Don't tell anybody where you're going.
Oh, of course I'm not telling anybody, because I might just be in the house with the doors shut and the blinds closed and just relax.
And he might hire someone to park his car somewhere else for him.
There you go, right.
In my garage, and you'll never know, so...
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to take some time off, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. And if a couple weeks ago I was out because I had pneumonia, and I was in the hospital for 4 or 5 days, and it looks like it's like trying to crawl up on me again. And I went to the hospital this afternoon. They said, no, we took an X-ray. There's nothing in the lungs. Just try to take it easy and don't do anything crazy, and you should be okay. I said, okay. So that's good, because I was kind of nervous today that they might stick me back in the hospital again, which would probably put the kibosh on my trip. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah. Trip's going to happen.
Yeah. Mrs. Howard would be very happy about that, because she was a little nervous about that this morning herself. Mm-hmm. Now, Carol left me a really interesting piece of information here.
Oh, yeah. We've been seeing that sitting around here for a day or two now.
Yeah. Old school AM FM radio is the most popular media of all, says Nielsen.
Ask Conservative Steve.
Yeah, how about
He's
that?
right.
Yeah.
Well, you see,
243 million monthly listeners listen to AM, FM radio every month.
you can't call in to the TV station to complain about the program or the guest or anything like that. But in radio, it's a little more interactive, a little more accessible to the public, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And look, TV reaches about 229 million. Yeah. Well, and you know what? I think what happens is just what you're talking about. Like on this show, we have a couple of people we know are going to call most of the time. We know Carlos is going to call, Steve's going to call, and Carol's.
You'll watch Carlos. He'll call 5 times if you let him.
Yes, right.
Okay.
And Carol is my new favorite call, and Jay, and Winnie, and they all call in, and they share their point of view, which I love. Yeah. But anyway, so think about that. So, and let me share this with you. If you want to advertise, advertising on my show is a very good value. And I was a reluctant believer initially, but after being on here for years, I can tell you every month for the past few years, I get 1 or 2 calls a month every single month from this radio show.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
they want an insurance man they feel like they know, and they've been listening to you. They feel like they know you already. They never met you. They hear you on the radio every week.
Yes. So I get 1 or 2 calls every month from the radio show. So it does work. So
radio has its privileges.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. So, okay. So here's if you know my open mic format is I usually lay out some issues, and then I encourage you to respond. The first issue, though, I want to talk about is not really a response, unless you really want to talk about it, is we have a Fort Pierce team who earned over $1 million in scholarships from Lincoln Park High School. Over $1 million. How about that? And
I saw the young lady's picture on the TV about that.
Can you imagine? And now check this out. Her weighted GPA is 6.1.
I thought 4.0 was great. 6.1.
Her weighted GPA is 6.1.
Wow.
She, at this point, is looking at going to Duke. So she's going to go to Duke for her undergrad work.
6.1, she can go anywhere she wants.
Oh, man, with $1 million worth of scholarship, she can.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, she's, and it's funny. We hear so many negative things about young folks. Yeah. One of my fellow church members, I spent some time with her recently, and she advised me her daughter was going to Yale. I said, gee, man, these kids are doing some things, and they're shaking the world and making some things happen, and I think that's awesome. Okay, so if you want to call up and talk about that young lady, I'll be more than happy to entertain your comments, 340-1590. Otherwise, I'm going to push along and tell you what my topics are. Topic number 1. Are parents pushing college too hard to their kids? What do you think about that? Are parents pushing college too hard for their kids? Something in the back of my mind, I think I had Sam here one night on and he and I had a discussion about this. Topic number 2. Do you care whether Trump colluded with the Russians? Does it matter to you whether he colluded with the Russians? I would really like to hear what your thoughts are about that.
And who really colluded with Stormy Daniels? Was it the president, or was it his attorney maybe? Why would he have to get reimbursed? For what? For what? Oh, man. It's all a mess.
Oh, what a mess that is. Listen, and let me tell you something. And I speak of this from experience in being in management. When you have an organization that leaks the way his organization leaks, that's not a employee problem. That's a leadership problem. Because people are trying to protect their hind parts from some of his bad decisions and don't want to be seen tied to some of the bad decisions that he's made. So they're leaking stuff out so as it doesn't look like it's going to fall back on them. And I'll tell you what, you can, and there's people on here like Brian who said that President Obama was the worst president in the history of this country. You never saw leaking like that in the Obama administration because they had respect for the leader.
How did Obama wind up lower on the scale, worse on the scale than Jimmy Carter?
Actually, Jimmy Carter has actually moved up over the years because of some of his humanitarian work.
So years after the presidency, the polls are still alive.
Yes.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Here's another topic. Should Russia be punished for interfering with our election? I didn't ask you, did they interfere with the election?
If they had, though, should they?
Yes, we have already determined through the CIA and FBI that they interfered with our election. Should they be punished? Next question. Here's an interesting one for the parents out there that's having to go through this right now. Small college versus large college. Which one's better? Small college versus large college.
Good example of a large college. Harvard.
Yeah, or in this state, do you know UCF is now the second largest university in the United States?
Wow.
It's got like 63,000 students. So when I'm talking about small college versus large college, I'm talking about when we're talking about a lecture hall of 200 versus a classroom of 25 or 40. So yeah. So which one, small or large? And we have Carol on line one. Good evening, Carol.
Hi, Rudy. Thanks for that call out. That was sweet of you.
All right.
And you're right. Last week's show was good. This week's show is going to be controversial for you. So I figured I'd get the ball rolling for you.
Okay.
Okay. I don't believe Trump, quote, unquote, colluded with the Russians. And, however, if he had, even though collusion is not a legally viable thing, you know, there is no crime called collusion in an election. But if he had, yeah, I would see that as akin to treason, which is, and I actually had written him at one point and expressed my views to him about some of the things he says and things like that, and some of the more positive, and he actually responded. First time a politician has ever responded to me, he actually responded.
Okay.
You know, so I ended up with a letter from the White House, which was kind of neat. So I do believe, even though he acts like he doesn't care about, you know, people's viewpoints and things like that, I do believe he does. And one of the things I dislike is some of the ways he says, some of the things he says. And I'd never liked him for that, okay? I had never liked him for that. I hated him for that. So it took me quite a bit to decide to vote for him anyway. But some people never got over that.
Mm-hmm.
Some people never got over the extravagant craziness of the way he says some of the things he says. You know, they never learn to separate the policy from the persona. And I think that because of that, that's why some people are leaking in the White House, whereas they didn't with Obama. Obama had a nice way of saying things.
Yes.
My problem with Obama is and I voted for him the first time. A lot of what he said isn't what he did. But he had a nice way of saying, you know, up yours, I changed my mind, or up yours, this is what I'm going to do. And I do believe that that's the way he would put it. As an example, this Iran thing that everybody's all up in an uproar about it. Obama was supposed to get congressional approval if he was to put us into a treaty. And they actually disapproved it. They voted it down. And he basically said up yours and did it anyway. And now they're blaming Trump for getting us out of it. And I blamed Obama for putting us into it because you're supposed to get congressional approval before you put the United States word on the line. Okay. So that was one of the things where I disliked what Obama did and like what Trump's doing.
Okay, well, let me just say this about both things. The biggest problem with Obama, which used to make me mad sometime, is he was too understated. He did so many different things that had a positive effect on the country, and he just was not the kind of guy that came out and beat on his chest.
Oh, I disagree with you.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, he didn't do it in a flamboyant manner, but he definitely got his give me kudos for this words in. Yes, he did. Yes,
okay, so give me some examples.
Well, the Iran thing is one of them.
Well, I don't think that he beat on his chest about that. What he did...
I wouldn't call it beating on his chest.
Because what he did... Now, just wait a second, Carol. Now, let me just get this point in here.
Yeah.
Because here's the point that I think too many people overlook. What he did was sit down at a table with some of our allies, and together they fashioned a plan to stop or slow down the creation of nuclear weapons by Iran. So it was not him just thumbing his nose Just let me finish. It was not just him thumbing his nose. What he did is he consulted with our allies, and together they came up with a plan. So that plan, when Trump pulls out of the plan, he's not just pulling out America out of the plan, he's also disillusioning some of our important allies who were signatories to the plan.
Here's the problem. Before Obama signed the United States to it, he was supposed to get congressional approval. He did not. In fact, the Congress disapproved it. Okay, so he put the allies over our elections. He put the allies over my voice. It was unconstitutional of him to do, and it was wrong of him to sign America up to something that he didn't get congressional approval for. It's the way we're set up. Now, there are ways to change that, but he chose to sidestep it, which is basically an up yours to those whose representatives are there. Now, I'm not going to say that Congress always represents my voice the way I'd like, but they're the best I've got, because without that, Obama acted like a little king. Well, we don't elect kings. We elect representatives, and we elect the president, and he was by the Constitution supposed to get congressional approval for that before he signed it.
Versus Trump?
No. I'm saying,
my goodness gracious!
I'm saying
when the situation came up in Syria, and with the red line, he decided, okay, I'm going to go to the House and ask for authorization to take action against Syria. They ran like scared chickens, ran into the coop and hid, and would not touch it with a 10-foot pole. You remember that, right?
I understand that.
Huh? You remember that, right?
Libya, I guess I understand that.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So when he did try to do it the right way, they ran and hid because nobody wanted to have their name attached to the vote that said yes or no.
But here's the difference. In accordance with our Constitution, the thing you're saying, he decided to go with what Congress decided. He had the authority to do that. He didn't have the authority to sign the treaty without congressional approval.
He didn't sign a treaty.
If he didn't sign a treaty, then Trump did nothing wrong pulling out of it. You see what I'm saying?
But it wasn't.
It was supposed to be a treaty.
But it wasn't a treaty.
It was okay. There's legal technicalities that he was good at bringing up. Okay.
Okay.
He was treating it as the United States agrees to this. Okay.
Yeah.
Which to me, to my non-lawyer mind, is the same as a treaty. If it wasn't a treaty, then there's no foul to not do it.
Okay.
If there wasn't a treaty, then Trump wasn't wrong to not renew it.
Yes, he was.
No, he wasn't, because it wasn't a treaty.
I'm going to tell you why he was wrong.
Treaties are the legal way that the United States agrees
I'm going to tell you why he was wrong. I'm going to tell you why he was wrong. If that was an agreement that we were in by ourselves, okay, then I would say he had every right and flexibility to do it. But once we, as America, are signatory to an agreement in which
we as America are not signatory.
Wait a minute. You're gonna have to let me finish this now. If we, America, are signatories to agreement along with our allies entered an agreement basically in joint cooperation with us. So now, if we have enticed them into this agreement and everybody agrees that the monitoring devices that were in place have been adhered to,
which not everybody does.
Well, everybody, all the allies and all of the major members of Trump's cabinet all agreed that they have not violated the agreement. Netanyahu doesn't. Mattis has said that they have not violated the inspection agreement.
That was 6 months ago.
I'm going to say recently Mattis has said, when Mattis was asked whether they should get out of the treaty, Mattis said he sees no evidence that they have not cooperated with the inspection orders that went along with the agreement.
Well, the French
now wait, just hear me out. Now I'm going to tell you why this is important. Because when we go to our allies, and we're all in NATO together, and there's a situation that requires us to come together as a group to solve a particular crisis, we have to be able to depend on each other to stand on our word with the group decision. He just faltered on that unwritten oath between allies.
Unwritten oath is different than NATO.
Well,
NATO,
I'm just telling you.
NATO is a treaty that
he just balked on an unwritten oath that we have with our allies. That when we go into something together, now if he does that, the next time we need the assistance of our allies, there will be a knee-jerk reaction, and God only knows what could come up that would require us to go to our allies, because we have now indicated we're not dependable on our word.
No. We've indicated that Obama wasn't dependable because Obama signed, but he shouldn't have without congressional approval.
You can say that till the cows come home, but you know he signed that with a group of other people. So he didn't just he didn't sign a treaty.
And he should have gotten.
What he didn't sign a treaty.
The reason Congress didn't approve it, the reason is because there were insufficient inspections in place.
Says who?
In order to prove whether they were or weren't compliant to the tone, even if not the letter.
That's not true.
That accord. Yes,
That's not. True. No, it's not true.
It is true.
It is not true.
It is true.
It's not, because all of the people, that was part of the main part of the treaty is to get the inspections. And they had complied. They complied with the order for the inspections. First time ever.
We can't disprove that they are still, or prove whether they are still, because there are insufficient inspections. Even the French president said that. But what he did say is, well, right now I don't see Plan B. And that, to me, isn't good enough to say, you know. And the other thing is, Obama sending those hundreds of billions of dollars over, you know, he really needed congressional approval to do these things.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
No, he didn't, because it wasn't our money.
If you want to treat it as a treaty,
it was not. It was not our money in the first place. That there was already litigation in the World Court. That money was Iran's that had been frozen since the early 70s. It was in the nature.
It was the prior administration
of
Iran, if you want to call it an administration.
But it was their money. It was not our money that we gave to Iran. I hate the fact that people say that over and over, and it infuriates me, because what the picture that people are painting is that President Obama was so stupid, he gave $150 billion of American money to Iran for nothing. And that's just not true. He gave Iran back money that they were owed. There had already been some adjudication in the World Court that said he owed the money and he had to give it back.
Through yet.
There was they settled it before it came through. It could end up paying more.
He shouldn't have settled it, because that is the whole, that economic hang over your head is this whole diplomatic thing when you're talking about North Korea and such.
Carol, you and I are going to really disagree. We're going to disagree about this because it's their money. We've been holding the money since the 70s. He gives it back in 2016. So we've been holding the money since the 70s, and in 2016 he gives the money back. And you're saying that we should have held on to it some more? When it was already in the World Court?
Okay, Rudy, here's the thing. He shouldn't
and
have done it.
I got another call, but okay, go ahead.
He should have done it up front. He should have gone to Congress.
He did.
And said no.
Yes, he did.
He hid it.
If you go back and look, it had, in January of the year in which he gave the money back, there was a story about him giving the money back that year because of a settlement he had made with the World Court.
He didn't go to Congress openly before he did it, is what I'm saying. He did that a lot. He bypassed Congress a lot. And you're defending that, and I'm not.
Okay. All right, so we're going to agree to disagree because...
And the same with the climate accord and the Iran thing.
And so what about Judge Merkel?
He shouldn't have.
What about the Supreme Court justice? That was right too, right? That was the right thing to do.
What Supreme Court justice?
Merrick Garland. What they did with Merrick Garland. That was right, wasn't
it? Give more detail.
They blocked his appointment of Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court because there was an upcoming election when constitutionally he had the right to appoint the next Supreme Court justice with the death of Antonin Scalia. I guess you agree with that, though, right?
Actually, no.
Oh, okay. All right. I just want to see if you're going to be consistent.
I am consistent.
Okay. I got to let you go. I got another caller on line too, Carol. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Jay.
Rudy, how you doing, man?
Okay.
You know, the sad part about a lot of Americans, they don't really realize, they don't understand. NATO is a part of our survival. We fought in World War II, and that's how it was established, that we would do away with fascism and the Holocaust and genocide in Europe and all what was going on with the Germans. And that was how it started. And we had, it was like we were part of this team. And it was like we wasn't going to break that chain, but the chain has just been broken. And it's kind of sad. She sounds like a pretty intelligent person, but it's sad that they can't see that. They can't see what Trump is doing to the rest of the world. Now, it's going to be a time we're going to need help because we're going to need intelligence. Right now, we get intelligence from them about the Russians and what they're doing as far as interfering in, not only in our election, which I'm going to talk to Gertrude Walker about that tomorrow night when she comes to the NAACP. And giving out the new voter, the new voter rules and regulations. But the thing, I'm just going to ask her about that. But the main thing is the Rosenbergs. You ever hear of the Rosenberg couple in New York?
Yes.
They were executed for treason.
Yes.
And almost just about what these characters are doing right now.
Yeah.
Exactly what they are doing. And they think it's cute. And you got Nunes in there taking classified information from that. From the House intelligence group and bringing it back to the White House, showing them stuff that they shouldn't even see, because they don't, they're not in the CIA or part of the intelligence group. That's going on, and then the son is talking to the Russian agent. The woman was a Russian agent. She worked side by side and give information to Putin, and he was the ex-KGB, and quite naturally they're going to give him anything he wants to hear, and that's the way the Russians work. And that was why I was drafted in the service, because of the Cold War, because of Russia. That's why they took me from what I was doing in my private civilian life and put me in uniform, okay? And here these people lost all their patriotism. I go back, when I think about, Roosevelt, and I think about Eisenhower and all these people, and then we come down to Trump, and he can't even tie their shoes when it comes to patriotism or doing anything for this country that is correct. And how could anybody that's halfway intelligent can't figure that out, can't figure out what's going on in this country? And when he did what he did with this thing in Iran, that was a plus for Putin, because Putin is trying to get a hold of the oil business, because that's what they got up there in Russia. That's the biggest part of their money making, is selling oil and stuff like that. And with Iran off the market, he can sell all the oil he wants to China, everywhere else he wants to do it. When he's taking Iran right out of the market, because Trump is still going to put all the ties on them and taking away the agreement that we made and the Europeans made. It's not us alone. See, that's where a lot of people don't understand.
I agree with you.
We're not part of that. We're not. It's a group, and we all trust each other. We went to war together.
Yes.
And it's just so sad. Listen. And you wonder where did these people come? I think the biggest problem with a lot of these people is making decisions. They never served this country, Rudy. They never served. They never had to put their life on the line for this country. They advocated. They found ways not to serve. They had 5 deferments. Trump, all these people, and even Bush, he went in the Guard, so he wouldn't go. And Cheney, forget about it. He had 5 deferments. So these are the kind of people that these people want to run this country, who have no connection with people that really put their life on the line for this country, and who are real patriots. And it's just so sad looking at and listening to the news and watching what they're doing, and nobody's doing anything about it right now. But I think Mueller will probably wind up doing something. But it's going to be up to Congress to follow through when they bring out the report. And that's going to be it.
And let me say something to you. First off,
yeah,
Carol has become one of my faithful callers, and she is very smart. She's an intelligent lady, but I'm going to tell you, she has missed the mark here. And the mark she's missed is exactly what you said. I heard someone say, this is within the last 2 weeks, I guess we can't depend on America anymore. We have to look to Germany. We have shot ourselves in the foot when people look to us and we're in leadership role to consolidate certain things, they expect us to stand on our word.
Right.
You know, we're expected to stand on our word. Ain't nobody going to criticize you for standing on the word that you gave to our allies. Now, and I agree with you 100%, which is exactly the point I was trying to make to Carol. There's going to come a time, because there always is, at some point in the future, where we're going to have to sit down at the table and try to get together our allies to solve a certain situation, and we're not going to be able to do it. Can you imagine they had a meeting in Parliament whether or not to accept the President of the United States? Now, is that horrible or what?
I never heard this. This was like unheard of.
Wasn't that unheard of?
Any other president was never. It was never even heard of. It would never even be discussed.
Right.
We were always part of whatever they were doing. We were always right there in the front, right at the table with them, making decisions.
They don't want him there.
You see? No, of course not. Why would they? He might be selling. He might be giving Putin all kind of info.
Yeah.
Especially. But the thing that I want to bring out, the last thing is when it comes down. I'm almost the train of thought. I was trying to think of something, and it just skipped my mind. But with these people that have given up information and all the stuff with our elections, that's the important thing. And I think that we need to jump on that right now. And I hope that the Democrats can get this thing together and win, and everybody turn out to vote in November. So they will have some kind of a order there, and maybe we can get some things done that will help the average ordinary worker out, and average ordinary middle class or working class person in this country, instead of dividing this country because people got this white privilege thing. What?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jay. I got to take a quick break. We're going to take a quick break. Caller, don't go anywhere. We got to take a quick break. I will get back to you right after the break. And don't you touch that dial, because we're going to be right back with the African American scene.
Serving the entire Treasure Coast, Howard Insurance and Associates in Port St. Lucie offers a wide variety of insurance products, along with the very best customer service. Whether you're shopping for the best homeowners coverage at the most affordable value, contact Rudy Howard's team at Howard Insurance and Associates. If you need coverage for your vehicle, call Howard Insurance and Associates, 343-9878. That's 343-9878. Maybe you're planning to add a boat, motorcycle, or RV. Call Howard Insurance and Associates for your free quote at 343-9878 and get the coverage you need at a cost that will fit your budget. For home or business, auto or recreational vehicle, choose Howard Insurance and Associates, 600 Southwest Darwin Boulevard, Suite 206, Port St. Lucie. And for your free rate quote, call them at 343-9878, 343-9878. WPSL Treasure Coast weather with meteorologist James Wheeland is brought to you this hour by Seacoast Air Conditioning.
Rain ending overnight, skies becoming partly cloudy, low temperatures at low 70s. Thursday, morning sunshine, again leading to afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Some of them could be strong, highs in the middle 80s. Friday through the weekend, more of the same. Morning sunshine, afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Really looks like our rainy season kicking into high gear here all the way through next week, too. Highs in the middle 80s, lows in the low 70s with thunderstorms each afternoon and evening. I'm WPTV Storm Team 5 meteorologist James Wheelan for WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
Weather this hour is brought to you by Seacoast Air Conditioning, your hometown air conditioning company since 1982. For repairs or a whole new system, call 772-466-2400.
Comfort crisis? Don't roast. Call Seacoast.
We now return to this week's exciting episode of the African American Scene with Rudy Howard.
Okay, Carol, I'll give you a quick shot.
Okay, go ahead.
My point, as I said, was my big problem with Obama is he sidestepped the Congress too much. If he had not sidestepped the Congress, Trump wouldn't have been able to do what he's doing with Iran, because the Congress would have approved it, and it would have been an international agreement that the United States officially signed up for.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So it wouldn't be an issue. As for Russian collusion, yeah, Donald Jr. took some meeting, but it didn't go anywhere. He said, no, thank you, and he left. That was the end of that.
You don't know
as
that.
For the well, I believe that, and you don't.
You can believe. You can believe that, but you don't know that.
Here's
okay.
The thing. What the Russians actually did was a group spent a few $100s, and a lot of their spending was prior to the Democrats deciding whether it was going to be Bernie or Hillary. Most of their spending was before the Democratic actual nomination, and it was anti-Hillary, not because they hated Hillary, but because she was the front runner. After she became nominated, it remained anti-Hillary because she was up in all the polls. After the actual election, they spent as much anti-Trump as they had anti-Hillary. So the collusion thing is just still iffy.
Okay, I'm going to let that go right there because you don't know that answer. You don't know that, and neither do I.
Well, Facebook has said on the spending trend, that is fact. That's what Facebook said, and they're not.
But Facebook is not Robert Mueller. Facebook's not Robert Mueller.
I have no problem with Mueller doing an investigation.
Okay,
I have a problem with some of the extra stuff he's doing. I got
to get to my other callers. Thank you, Carol. Okay, Chuck. Yes, Chuck.
Hey, Rudy, how you doing today?
Okay.
Blood pressure good?
Yeah, blood pressure's fine.
Good. The young gentleman you had on last week, the young lady at Lincoln Park, and there's a young lady up in North Carolina that was accepted to over 100 colleges and universities.
I saw that, yes.
Yeah. We covered that, didn't we? Yeah.
No, that's another one.
That's another one. Oh.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah. That's the one that she's going to Yale, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw that today. Yeah, she's going to Yale, yeah.
Yeah, but over 100. I mean, it's just incredible. They've restored my faith in America. I was kind of giving up watching all these people that they've been showing on TV. You know, it's like, why are they going to college? They don't know basic anything. And so, but these kids are really making me feel well about turning the torch over to them. They're going to do a great job.
And Chuck, here's the nice part about it. They both are public school graduates, which everybody says that public schools don't teach our kids. But these two girls who have shined like the stars are both public school graduates.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is white privilege thing. I sent you a thing about a little pop-up restaurant, a Nigerian chef down in New Orleans.
Uh-huh.
And he offers people a dinner for $12. It's Nigerian fare.
Right.
And when it's just a little hole in the wall. And then when you come up, if you're white, you pay the $12. Then he asks you if you would pay the $18 extra to show the disparity between the wages of the whites and the blacks in New Orleans. Now, when the blacks come up, he just charges them $12. But in turn, he turns around and says, would you like the $18 that this other guy just paid? What he found out was 75% of the white people paid the extra $18. And then he asked, well, do you feel better now because you felt guilty about white privilege and all? So, you know, and then the black people, he was upset because like about 60% of them refused the $18. So if I went to eat there and I saw a picture of his blackboard menu, there's no meat on it, but it's Nigerian. I got to have meat with mine. But I would have paid the $12. I would have told him, no, I'm not paying the $18 because that's what you put up there, $12. It has nothing to do with disparity or anything.
Right.
So that's what I would have done. Now, he's got if I can give it to you over the air, he's got a website, and he gives you documentation of what he's talking about. I mean, he's got facts and figures to back up what he's talking about. So my question would be, well, would you take the $18 or would you just pay the $12, or what would Cliff do? You know, it's kind of a question to ask yourself.
There's no such thing as white privilege. I'm just as broke as all the black folks I know.
Nobody. Yeah. Well, the thing is, nobody ever gave me anything. My dad said, you want it? You get your butt out there and work for it.
Straighten up and get a job. That's what they told
right.
me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Have a good day, Rudy.
Okay, you too. Winnie, yes, ma'am.
How you doing?
Okay.
Rudy? I had moved back to Fort Pierce, but I have a question. Okay, I had called the city, I county, and the state. Well, why they rolling so bad here? And I know Jay talked about the voting. They said they're gonna put this on the ballot about the voting ballot. The House said they said the House said on the voting ballot that'll cover the roads. That'll cover the road because the roads are so bad here in Fort Pierce. And they said they don't have the money to do the roads, 13th Street. The list go on and on and on. They said they don't have the money to do the roads to here. But they said they're going to put it on the voter ballot about the House said. They want people to vote yes on that so they could cover the roads and stuff like that and everything. Hey, are you familiar with that?
A little bit. Fort Pierce is a kind of a strange situation because you have part of Fort Pierce in the actual city that's actually part of the county, and then that part of the city that's in actually part of the city. So that has a lot to do with how the roads get maintained and which roads get worked on, because it's kind of weird because you can be on one block, and on one half of the block is city police, and then on the other half of the block is the county police. I don't know how they're going to straighten that out, but at some point they need to straighten it out because it's awfully inefficient and it's got to be awfully expensive.
Yeah, I think those people are throwing in out of line and do all kind of car damage. Yeah. The road, it's been like this for years, like they never got it done.
Yeah.
They never got it done. Been like this for years, and like it's just terrible.
Yeah.
Well, they said
I got to get one more caller in here.
Oh, all right, bye.
Thank you, Winnie. Carlos.
Rudy.
Yes, sir.
Rudy, quick. I'm going to say quick. I know you got to go. Hey, what Obama did is treason because Iran is a sponsor of terror, and that's why he didn't go to the Congress to give them their money back, and that's why he made that deal. And we're not supposed to be making deals with terrorism country, and Iran, you know for a fact, is a sponsor of terror. So what Obama did was treason, and don't worry about it. Trump will clean everything up, and everybody will get their jail time. Thank you, sir.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So he thinks they're going to send President Obama to jail. Okay. Boy, that's wishful thinking. If they didn't send Bush to jail, they're certainly not going to send President Obama to jail.
I don't think they could send Obama to jail unless he got maybe a 20% collection cut, you know.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't think he got that.
No, I don't know what. I know people just have these. We are just so tribal now. It's whatever my tribe says. I support whatever my tribe says, and that's the bottom line. So we got a couple of more calls hanging out there. I don't think we have time to get them.
No, we don't. There's almost hardly any time left in our show, except for, hey, what a show.
Yeah.
It happened again. And you know, the thing about any kind of political talk, it's a wide variety of views out there, and everybody's willing to kill each other to make sure that they got the best view. But you know what? I don't believe that. You know, but they like to beat up. And
what we have to do,
how do we get the hate out of society?
I think we do a pretty good job of it here most of the time. We have to learn to listen to each other.
Yeah.
And listen to the other person's point of view.
And the other person needs to understand that I am not going to let anybody filibuster you on your show.
Right.
I'm going to give you all the same rights that Rush Limbaugh gets. Hey, number one, if you're going to call this show, you're going to make the host look good. Okay? That's number one. You're going to make this host look good or you're not going to get on. We're going to screen your calls. And you know what? It's okay to agree with a black man if you're a racist. Okay? You can get over it right now because you're not going to change anything. Okay, I said it. All right. I feel better now. Here, feel me.
So I think that, you know, it's, but that was we had a pretty lively debate. But I'll tell you what, I get spit fired mad about that money that we gave back to Iran. Yeah. And you can't believe how many people out there think President Obama went in our Treasury and gave them $150 million.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, that's when you only listen to half of a newscast and just repeat the part that you like and make up everything you want about the part you don't like.
And then people believe that.
Yeah.
And I told my conservative friend a couple months ago about that. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, people can read. I said, but what you're doing is you're painting a picture that he gave away our money, and it's not true. Yeah.
Once you paint a picture like that, you can't unpaint it that easily.
Yeah.
It's like trying to take back something. Try to take back a contract. Try to take back anything.
I'll give you a perfect example. Okay. Here's a perfect example before we end the show.
All right.
They said Saddam was involved in 9/11.
Yeah, there was no way.
There was no evidence that he was ever involved in 9/11. And there are people still to this day that believe Saddam had something to do with 9/11. Yeah. Because they were so convincing about tying him to 9/11, and there's people out there to this very day that believe that.
Yeah. Well, we've been lied to about a lot of things over the years. And, you know, people are starting to wake up. They're starting to notice that a lot of this stuff is a bunch of lies. And basically what you got to do is you got to find truth. And you got to find the truth to whatever it is that you're finding truth about. And when it comes to politics, that's the hardest part. That's the hardest kind of proof, is because you want evidence. Like in a court of law, you'd have to have evidence. You'd have to go through all the procedures, right? Like going before Congress. I mean, bypassing Congress with an executive order, well, they've got the laws so a president can do that if he needs to. Nobody thought about that. It's more fun to just criticize and join the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Join the pack of barking dogs.
Well, folks, I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in to the African American scene. God bless and be safe. And just a reminder, I won't be here next week. I'll be here the week after.
We'll have a best Rudy Howard's African American scene next week right here.
Okay, folks, take care and be safe.
All right. Archives of this show can be seen at www.wpsltv.com, including this one. Give me a couple days to get it edited and up there, and you can watch all of your favorite shows from WPSL on WPSLTV.com. That's our YouTube. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.